So this is going to go over how to do a problem like number 6. So I wanted to show you what number 6 actually looks like. I know you probably have the test in front of you. Um, so it's asking which one represents this equation that you're given. And you couldn't use Desmos or a graphing calculator on this. So the idea is that just knowing this information given in the equation, you should be able to identify the graph. So I'm going to talk about the important information. So if you go to the example on your reflection sheet here, we kind of prompted you to talk about certain important parts that you can look for on your graph. And so the first one is going to be the x-intercepts. So looking at my equation here, I want to know what my x-intercepts are, and then I can find them on the graph, and then I can match the graph. I think one of the largest problems is people were confused about what factors are and how to get them because of something like this. So in order to know what our x-intercepts are, or our roots, or what x equals, we're going to set each of these factors that have an x equal to 0. So I'm taking each factor that has an x equal to 0. So I want to be really clear about this. The reason we're using this is because it has an x in it. If there was just a number here without the x, that wouldn't actually give us a root. That wouldn't help us at all. But because it has this x, we're also going to set that equal to 0. So we're going to have to solve for all of these. So in order to solve for x here, instead of dividing by 3 or multiplying by 1/3, what we're going to do is actually multiply both sides by 3. And what you'll notice is that it actually doesn't even matter what this number was, because you're always going to end up with 0. Because no matter what this number is that's with the x is always going to end up either multiplying or dividing this 0, and you're going to get 0. So this is one of our x-intercepts. So we know it's going to cross at 0, or touch at 0 maybe, and we'll talk about that in a second. The next one, I'm going to solve for x, and I get another x-intercept at -3. And then my last one, again, I'm going to solve for x, and I get another x-intercept at 5. So again, this is different than the actual problem on the test. This is the example problem right here, and I'm just highlighting some of the important things that you can look for on a graph in order to choose which graph represents the equation. So I've got 0, -3, and 5. So already I'm looking at the graphs, and they have to cross or touch at 0, -3, or 5. And if they don't do that, I would just cross that one off. But another important part here is the double root. And I know this is the double root because it's coming from this factor that's been squared. So my double root is at -3. So I want to look at my possible graphs. I'm going to cross at 0. I'm going to cross at 5. But at -3, this is my double root. That's where there's that bounce off the x-axis. So if you were unsure of which graph to pick, these are really kind of the important parts that you wanted to look for. So now you can practice that in 6A and 6B.